familiar with you, this kind of maybe the quick synopsis of like how did you get started in the music industry, right? And then maybe just some of the things that you achieved, and then we'll jump into specific things in regards to build a relationship.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of my story, the reason why I appreciated the past coaches, because a lot of my story I seen in him, what he was talking about him. So I was in college, went to college like everybody else, or most of us, and I came home and I got a regular job. I was doing sales in a hotel. I was 21, young, and that wasn't my life though. That's not what I saw for myself. I had a good job, but I didn't want just a good job. I wanted a career that felt like I didn't work at all. And I felt like I woke up every morning and I was in the office by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I wasn't really happy. You know, I'm 49 years old at the time. When I was out of college and working, anybody remember the Tunnel nightclub? Yeah. Right? Okay. So all my friends would go to the Tunnel on Sunday night, and I couldn't go. Or if I did go, I had to leave by 12:30 because I had to be in the office at 8:30 the next morning. So the next day, I would get phone calls in my office of my friends telling me what I missed. So, needless to say, one day, I bought a book called All I Need to Know About the Music Business, and I was reading it on the train every day, and then one day I just walked in my office and I quit. And I went home and I told my father, and I was living at home with my parents, and I said, "Yo, Dad, I just quit my job." And he looked at me, he said, "You crazy? It was a good job, right?" He said, "Are you crazy?" And I said, that's not for me. The job is not for me. I'm young, I don't have any kids. I'm just responsible for myself. So, and I dived into the music business. And when I tell you I didn't know anything, about the music. I read this book and I thought I knew everything. And when I jumped in, I didn't know anything at all. From my hotel job, I saved up like $16,000, and I thought, this is gonna cover me till I start making money in the music business. And let me just tell y'all, that $16,000 went like that. And I was broke. And when I tell you I was broke, I started managing a producer named Sugar Bear, and we would go to Manhattan, and remember Ray's Pizza on 6th Avenue, 11th Street? It's not there anymore. It's famous for original Ray's. We used to buy one slice of pizza and we used to split it because we didn't have money to eat food. Like, we were broke. And so just kept grinding and in the music business, and everybody was, turning us away, telling us no, but I had friends who were in the game, and they would allow me to come to their studio, and this is in line with what you were saying about relationships, and I was just utilizing my relationships and the degrees of separation in which we are from everybody to just get through the door. And I just kept going out, and I just was persistent, and just started selling beats, and my other best friend, sister, her name at the time was AKA, and she was signed to Capitol Records, and we started managing her and changed her name to Foxy Brown, and got her a new record deal at Def Jam, and then my life got started in music.
Love it, right? Inspiring, right? So good. Love it.
But let me just be clear. I just want you to be clear. I skipped over a lot because we could be here all day of me telling you how difficult it was. But no matter the obstacle that was put in front of me every day, I hurdled it, right? I took it on as it came. If somebody would have told me what I was gonna embark on in the beginning, I might have said, nah. I might have said, I'm not going through that. I went in completely blind, not knowing the hill that I had to climb. And every single day, I was just making more and more progress, and making more and more progress. And even after I got to the point where I was making money, I still made a lot of mistakes, and we'll get into that part, but it was difficult in the beginning. And so whatever industry, and I say this to you guys, because whatever industry that you're in, whatever you want to do in life, if it's worth doing, I can promise you, it won't be easy. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be a lot of no's. There's gonna be a lot of people telling you you can't do it. Mind you, the people who are telling you can't do it aren't doing it. So they're gonna tell you, you can't do this. Why are you doing this? My father looked at me and said, the music business, this is a pipe dream. I promise you, 4 years later, I bought him a Porsche. Wow. No lie. Promise you. But prior to that, even my father, who believes in me, proud of me, told me, bro, you bugging. You got a good job. Why would you quit? Because I wanted to do something that made me happy. And I'll tell you that money is a byproduct of doing something good. Do something good, do something that you're happy with, and the money will come. If you chase the money, that means you'll compromise anything to make the money. You'll compromise your integrity, you'll compromise a lot of, you will compromise your friendships and your relationships. You will stab people in the back to make money, and that's not who you want to be as an individual. You want to do something, you want to find your purpose, you want to find what you love to do, and just drive at it 100 miles an hour every single day, consistently. See the progress. And when you see that progress, that's when you know it's there, and then the money will come like you will not imagine. You will be blessed beyond your wildest dreams if you go that route. Some people look for the money and chase the money, and therefore and that's how come you even think about how many problems you had with people who you love over money. You know what I mean? People, family members get into fights over money because they're chasing the money. The money is what's dictating their character. You don't ever want the money to dictate your character.
I love it. Yeah, let's give up for that. Oh, that's great. So let me ask you this: like during the initial phase, right? Because I mean, as you know, any new journey you start, it's easy to give up, right? Early on, especially when you might have people in your ear that might be the naysayers, right? The people that might say, "Oh, you can't do it," or "Why are you spending that amount of money on that?" And sometimes it can be hard to persist. In the beginning, how did you stay consistent? What did you do to like stay consistent? Maybe from a mindset thing, was it a habit thing you was doing or focusing on, or how did you do that?
Yeah, I saw myself there, right? I envisioned it before, right? I even saw myself and treated myself like I was a millionaire before I even had $1,000. I envisioned me being there. There was no for me. There was just temporary battles that I may have lost, but at the end result, I'm going to get there. If I have to deviate, I'm gonna get there. And it was like when I chose, okay, this is what I want to do, I was passionate about it. You see, when you love something, you're willing to wake up and you think about it in the shower. You think about it when you go to bed at night. You think about it during the middle of the day. It consumes you because you love it, right? I wasn't chasing money. I wanted to be, at the time when I first started, I wanted to be the best A&R guy in the business. And so I had to learn about it. Everything has science. Everything has an IQ attached to it, right? Every sports, basketball. Do you know, and I don't want to get off the subject, but do you know that what separates basketball players from the goods, like the greats like Kobe, LeBron, and Michael, from some of the other role players, is simply IQ. It's simply that Kobe And LeBron and them fed into understanding the science of how the game is played on a higher level. It's not that their skill level is better. Most people think, oh, this guy can shoot better, or he can jump higher, or he's faster. No, they understood the science of it. So for me, when I jumped into the music business, I wanted to learn the science of it. I needed to understand why this fat, cockeyed guy from Brooklyn was more talented and selling more records than this handsome, well-dressed guy from Harlem. It didn't make sense to me. I had to be able to answer those questions for myself. Or when somebody asked me why Biggie Smalls was selling more records than Cameron, I needed to be able to answer that. And that was passion. That came from loving what I did. It wasn't about chasing money.
Love it. So yeah, shout out to that. So okay, so you mentioned in terms of you went through some difficult times. What do you feel like is maybe one of the most difficult things that you had to go through in terms of, and I know it's many of them, right? Because you've been doing this for many years, like what, 25, 30? You've been for a lot of years.
I'm 49. It's 48.
Yeah.
I'm 49.
So it's been a lot of years you've been in it. So what is one of the most difficult tasks that you felt like you had to go through within your career, and how did you muscle up how did you navigate that in order?
One of the most difficult things was making a decision to make music. That was, am I gonna chase this dream? Like the audacity of me to think that I can be the guy, right? That was number one. And the second one, I got into a position where I had to make a decision which way I was gonna go, right? Whether I was gonna keep working for companies, or am I gonna brave it and start my own company and work for myself? One of my mentors, and you guys have I have mentors in the music business, right? One of my mentors said to me, he said, can you tell me how many people working for the record companies retire rich? And I looked and I said, all these people have $300,000, $400,000 a year jobs, $700,000 a year jobs, and none of them retire rich, right? Okay, but none of them retired rich. When they retired from their jobs, or they lost their jobs or whatever, they had to downgrade their life, right? He said, if you want to retire rich, you got to start your own company and work for yourself. And so that was probably because when you have I've worked, and this is not a flex, I promise you, I've worked for all of the major record companies. I worked for Sony, I worked for Universal, and I worked for Warner's. And I've had cushy jobs. And to forego a guaranteed salary, a check, and then go out on your own, it's a difficult decision to make.
Mm-hmm. Listen.
To be the guy who has to write those checks to other people, and not be the guy who's like, I'm comfortable, I can just live like this for a while. And you say to yourself, yeah.
Man, that's powerful. So, all right, you mentioned, and then I want to get to relationships, but I don't want to speed past this while it's on my mind. You mentioned mentors, right? So, we here, we all coaches, we're leading the industry, and I'm huge on mentors and coaches. So talk to me, who were some of the mentors for you, and what are some of the key lessons that you've learned specifically?
So I chose my mentors, right? They didn't choose me. Two of my mentors didn't even know they were my mentors. I want you to really hear me when I say that. Two of my mentors, Leo Cohen and Kevin Lyles, right? They didn't even know they were my mentors. One gentleman, God rest his soul, Chris Lighty, was my direct mentor. He grabbed me by the hand and he taught me, and he molded me and he shaped me. But I had other mentors for other reasons, because some people are good at one thing, some people are good at other things. And it's good to really look up and see where you're going and try to learn their habits. And so, I've read things on Chris's desk that I wasn't supposed to read, and this was all learning. I was watching and being ear hustling to conversations that I wasn't supposed to hear. I just did everything that I could to become a sponge, because I was on track to be him, and I wanted to learn. And when it got to be my turn, I wanted to be ready for it. So, so two of my mentors, Lior, Lior taught me so many different things that he don't even know he taught me. Steve Stout, another person who, I've watched for 20 plus years and just molded and patterned myself after them, so that, again, when I got there, I could be ready. Because if you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, the universe, I'm a very spiritual person. God will bless you and give you that opportunity. If you show him that you really, really want it, it'll manifest itself. Now, when it manifests itself, the question is, are you going to be ready for it? And so I prepared myself to be ready for it. And yeah.
Love it. Let's get up for that. Woo! Right? As you're talking, right? Just make sure you're taking notes on that.
But this is because I know we're gonna get into relationships, but there's one part of this story that I have to tell you guys, of my story, that I need to share with you guys, right? So I signed Foxy Brown, and I signed 50 Cent, right? And when I signed Foxy Brown, I made a decent amount of money, right? And I thought I was rich. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I thought I was there. Like, this is never, and when you've never had it before and then you get it, you don't think that it's ever gonna stop, right? So, I made a decent amount of money off of Foxy Brown's first album and her whole climb. And, I had a convertible car, and I wasn't married. I had a girl over here with an apartment, another girl over here with handbags for whatever she wanted, another girl over here with a car. I'm just being very honest with you. And $500 dinners every night. And I looked up, and I didn't pay my taxes. And I was like, I may have had like 20 grand left, and I had mid six figures when I started, from Foxy Brown, and I didn't pay my taxes, and I elevated my lifestyle, and people were expecting certain things from me, because that's the way I set myself up. I was scared, because there's a funny thing about the tax man. He'll let you rock. As long as you got money, he'll let you breathe. The second you get low, he knocks on your door and you forgot about me. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I went to church, and in church and God has always been a part of my life since I was a kid. I thank my parents for that, my grandparents. And I prayed, and I said, God, if you let me get through this, I'm going to change, and I'm never going to ever live like this anymore. And so I was fortunate enough to, I had a job, and I was fortunate enough to cut a deal with the tax man and pay off my taxes, and then I signed 50 Cent. And I made a huge huge check off for Get Rich or Die Trying. And I started managing Busta Rhymes and started managing LL Cool J and started doing all of these phenomenal things. And when I tell you my performance changed, and I'm borrowing this from him because I didn't use performance prior to hearing him. But when I tell you my performance changed, I wasn't spending money like that, because you can have money and you can make money, but if you don't know what to do with it, you will always be reduced back to what you're used to handling. Right? You can make a lot of money. I put it this way, you can go outside, you can hail a cab, and you can find $2 million in the back of a cab. And I guarantee you, I don't know how long it'll take, but I guarantee you, if you don't learn how to handle $2 million, you will be reduced back to what you know how to handle eventually. That's how come you have all these stories of these lotto winners going broke, because the one thing they don't learn how to do is handle the money. The first thing you have to do is learn how to handle the money. And then you'll, like my man said, you'll learn how to keep it. But if you don't learn how to handle it, you can't keep it. And he did good, because I'll be honest with you, he said, I made 1.5 million and I kept 350. Well, 30% of income is great, because I aspire to 15, 20%, right? He managed to keep 30%. After trips and mortgages and tuitions and whatever else he had, like he was doing well already. He wanted to elevate to be higher, and I mean, God bless him, but 30% was great from, but I tell you that story, and it was a really key part of my story, because you get fooled not understanding the level at which you're on, and you have to be able to realize what you have versus what you make, and learn to live within your means.
Yo, so funny, as you're saying that, I remember one of the biggest mistakes that I made first starting. When I first started to make some money, started getting some clients. So before I started working with, coaches and speakers specifically, I was just working with all types of entrepreneurs. So I was working with, I was working with restaurants and daycare centers, right? My wife knows, right? I was working with all types of different businesses. And I remember when I would make a couple dollars, I would take that money and I'd say, cool, I got this bread now. Yo, drink for everybody at the bar. I'll take my frat brothers out. Everybody, we get drinks and go. And I used to take the money that I was making from the business and I was spending on personal. Only because I was happy, I was excited that I was making a couple dollars, and I wasn't reinvesting it back into the business. It was funny that you mentioned that. So that's really key, man. Yeah. So let me ask you this, E. So let's talk about relationships, right? So you work with some prominent people in hip hop. How did you, and maybe you just give some examples, but how did you grow to, being a guy that was just trying to make all of this happen? How do you go from that to now you working with, 50 Cent or LL Cool J? How do you, from where you came from, how does that happen?
Yeah, because the one thing we make as a society in America, especially in America, we treat people, people ask you, what do you do? Not somebody coming to you asking your name and whatever, and they ask you what you do. That question is real interesting, because that question is asking you based on, I'm asking you this question to learn how I'm going to treat you. Right? When someone asks you, what do you do? Right? And you say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing that. And then they, wow. And if they, I work for, such and such, and I got just a little job, I'm trying to come up. They are putting you in categories to treat you a certain way. Automatically. You're 100% right. So for me, I've learned and this is again something I got from my mentors. I've learned very early on, when I came to Def Jam, I would fist bump the interns, the security guards were my best friends, the assistants, like I used to develop relationships with the assistants. I used to develop relationships with everybody and treated everybody the same way I treated the CEO of the companies. Why? Number one, those people are gonna be the CEOs in a few years. They're on their way, and they don't forget. That's number one. Number two, you get, because I have relationships with assistants and so on, I could call somebody's office and be like, yo, can I talk to Kev? And they would be, and the assistant would be, oh, this is Eric. And now now you gotta remember, I've developed a rapport with this young lady or this young man. And because of my rapport with them, they would keep it real with me versus somebody who's calling cold and, oh yeah, Kevin's not available right now. Yo, where's Kev at? Yo, Eric, he's in a meeting, but he's leaving out in 10 minutes. So if you shoot over here, you might catch him going to the lot. I would get extra information just by being nice to people. Just by, when you go and get your Starbucks, be like, yo, I'm gonna pass by her office. Maybe I'll ask her if she wants a Starbucks too. It's little things that you will be surprised how far that will take you. And that's how you build relationships. So now, today, and the reason why I can walk in any record company, and I've been working for myself since 2010, right? This is 2022. I've been working for myself for 12 years. I can walk into any record company in New York, Los Angeles, and London, and walk in it like I work there. Every single record company, simply because I've built these relationships. And I'm a builder of relationships more than anything, right? We have a mutual friend who called me and was like, yo, Eric, I need you to do me a favor. Connected me with T. Yo, E, can you make this happen? All right, let's figure, so many people who do what I do, nah, man, I ain't got the time. Nah, I can't. They want to, he said it. Tell me the guy's name. Kendall said it. These guys be fronting. Real talk. And the music business is the biggest fronting you can ever imagine. You look at me. I hang out with a lot of rappers, so I dress like rappers. Keep it real. Don't judge me on that. But yo, I'm gonna keep it all the way real with you. In the music industry, everybody's front. Everybody is, I'm too good for their shoes. He called, it was one, then he called me and said, yo, E, let's meet someplace and let's do an interview. Okay. And now I have a relationship with him. That's gonna transcend this, because we're talking about doing other things. So, listen, don't take this with you, please. Don't look at people for where they are. Look at people for their potential, and even if you don't see them growing to be CEOs or whatever, there may be a purpose that individual can help you. So think about every person that you encounter as a relationship. The front desk clerk, like, I can't tell you the different places that I travel in the world that I have relationships with the front desk managers or whatever. Is that upgrade available? For free, Mr. Nix. Just on relationships. Look at people for building and not like, every time a waiter comes to my table, thank you so much, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I try to tip as much as possible. One of my favorite restaurants is Houston's, and I go twice a week and I work from the bar there, and I developed a relationship with the bartender. So when I'm going there, sometimes, and if you guys ever been to Houston, that bar gets kind of busy. she holds my space for me. Why? Because I've built a relationship with her. Because I'm nice to her. The relationships is everything. It gets you through so many doors that you probably don't have the resources otherwise to do it. Because other than that, you gotta rely on money. And if you're trying to build money, if you're trying to build a business or you're trying to do certain things, you don't have the money, you better have the relationships. Relationships are a lot easier to build.
I love it. Give it up for that, please. Yo, y'all enjoying this? Like, this is amazing. I'm so glad I got this on footage for myself. I'm gonna be listening to this later, like, hold on, okay, everybody, I'm gonna be physical to everybody now. Everybody's about to be making friends.
But that's so real. I promise you, it's real. You think about the little things like when you go pick up your car at the garage, and the garage attendant, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I know the 1755 Broadway, the garage attendant. I know his son's names. I know everything. Yo, how's your son? I ask him. You get that goes so far. I guarantee you won't get a scratch on your car. I guarantee you when you come to pick up your car, that car will be right there ready to go. Try it. Just try it. You'll see. You see. Most people, it's garage attendant, I don't need him. Can't help me. Okay.
Yo, you know what's so funny? Yo, what's so crazy is the owner of like this hotel is Mr. and Mrs. Nicotra. Me and my wife Amina actually got married inside of this very hotel, right? So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, give it up for that. Give it up. So anyway, I'm in the lobby, kind of like setting up for the event, and I just see this one guy super well dressed, and he just like I didn't know it was him, but he was like super well dressed and, hey, how you doing? Hey, you know this guy right here? I'm like, yeah, he's coming to the event. Oh, you know this guy, he was eating up all the hamburgers inside of, and he was just like just being super friendly. I'm like, it stuck out to me. Now, his wife, I didn't recognize him. I recognized his wife because they showed up to our wedding when we did it here. And I said, and I saw him, he was behind the counter. I said, is that your husband? She said, yeah, that's Mr. Nicotra, right? And he's, so I said, that makes sense. Like, the friendliest person in the hotel was the guy who owned it. And, so now we in here, we doing an event. You know that I'm going to make sure that is right. Just because of the energy that he gave, right? We ain't going to leave things here. It ain't going to be looking crazy, right? Everything is, so that's so key. Just building those relationships in that kind of way, and you never know how it's going to manifest. So I really love that. And one other thing too I want to mention too, and then I got another question for you. Eric mentioned about the relationships that he's building in terms of like the assistants and things of that nature. Who here wants to do speaking engagements at some point, right? You want to go around, travel, do speaking engagements. He said he can walk into any office, right, or what you call record company. He walk into any record company and walk around like he worked there. You should be able to do that. You should be able to go to any school in your area. You should be able to go to every nonprofit. You should be able to walk in and know the people that are in there. Maybe you volunteered your time. So when he was saying that, I'm like, damn. Build relationships with the places I want to go speak eventually at some point. So when you're ready to go in there and go speak, it's not going to be a problem. Make connections to what he's saying. This is why I wanted E to come here, because literally the music industry is like the top industry that you really have to build like relationships in to like make things happen. So take it and apply it to what we do as coaches and as speakers so we can continue to build our career. Does that make sense? So love it. Give it up for that. Yes.
So I didn't realize there's so many people here that want to become speakers. That's pretty dope. First and foremost, and I didn't really talk about I didn't really get into it deeper, but what a lot of people really walk past too is they fail to master their craft. as speakers, there's so many different things that go into to captivating an audience and being able to have people not snooze on you from just talking, right? You have to, and I'm not a professional public speaker, but I've sat in enough audiences to know the good ones from the bad ones, right? And, you know, I realized the good ones, they mastered and it'll come over time, but they really, really focused on an angle and mastered their craft. So when they stand in front of an audience, it's like, oh, it's no doubt I'm gonna rock this. And they are the ones that command top dollar. They're the ones who the corporate companies call for their retreats and so on and so forth, and have huge followings because they've mastered their craft. So many people want to do so many different things, and I told you guys when I got into the music business, I wanted to learn the science of it. I wanted to know the difference between, I wanted to answer all the whys. Why is this, why is that, why is this, why is that? And in a sense, I wanted to be the best A&R guy in the business, and in order to do that, I had to master my craft. I had to build relationships, but I also had to master my craft. I had to be able to walk in the studio and be able to hear a dope beat and be able to determine what this recording artist was going to do on this beat and be able to, you know what it's like to tell someone, to tell LL Cool J, nah, that's not a dope verse, you got to write another verse. Huh?
He's gonna lick his lips.
Yeah, he does that all the time. But yeah, to tell Busta Rhymes, who is brilliant, like, nah, maybe another song should be your first single, not that one, because I don't really care for that one too much. You have to be able to, you have to master your craft in that field to even have the audacity to tell somebody on that level. So for all of you aspiring speakers, and you guys are all gonna get there, every single one of y'all, but the ones that are gonna really step out are the ones that are gonna really, really focus and master and be able to answer the whys and know how to come on the stage and be able to read a room and know exactly how to attack it.
Powerful, let's go. All right, love it. I know we can keep you here all day, but I know you got to run soon too. So let's do this. Take some questions. Any questions? And by the way, as you're thinking of your questions, for those who don't know what an A&R is, can you just like
sure,
say that to me?
It's artisan repertoire. That's what it stands for. It's basically the guy or the girl, and there's some very really good female A&Rs, probably more so now than guys. But it's the face of the company. It's the person who finds the artist, molds the artist, helps develop the album, and sees it all the way through, helps shape and vision the product. And in order to be a really good A&R, if you don't have good relationships, if people don't like you, find something else to do. I can tell you that. If you can't get producers on the phone, if you can't get certain other artists to do certain things, find something else to do. For real.
Come on, isn't that a good skill to have? It is, right? That's a great skill to have. All right, questions. All right, let's go. Actually, ladies first. Let's go to Shay, and then I got you.
I got to follow up. You said there's a science reason why Biggie outpowered Cameron. So I want to know, like, what was your analysis on that?
So that's so if you guys remember when Cam first started, right? Cam, he for his first record, it was Horse and Buggy with Mace, and then it was 357 with DMX, and he was like kind of like all over the place and didn't have really a focus. So when you saw Cameron, you didn't really know what lane to put him in because he was all over the place. His first 2 albums, he didn't really come into his own until he started wearing pink and really like discovering who he was as an individual. Biggie always knew who he was from the beginning. Fat, black, and ugly as hell. However, stayed Gucci down to the side. He was always that person. He stayed in that lane, right? And I tell all new recording artists when they come to me, define yourself in a phrase. Tell me who you are in a phrase. And most of them, every answer I can guarantee you, I keep it real. That's the default answer. That's not the one I'm looking for, right? Because Pop took thug, the word thug, a derogatory word, and he changed it into something that was endearing, something that was, you had white girls on MTV going, yeah, I want to date a guy that's a little thuggish, right? Like, he changed it. He owned it, and he gave it a different terminology, right? You had Jay-Z, who every time you looked into his eyes, he approached it from a point of view. I do things on a certain level. No matter whether it was talking to a girl or shooting a gun, I dip, squat, and post up with the toes up. Like Jay-Z, right. only way Jay-Z would do it, right? And so that's how Biggie was Biggie, and Cam didn't come into Cam until he figured that out.
Everybody write this down. Find your uniqueness. Find your uniqueness. Find. Find your uniqueness, right? Find what's going to separate you. You know what's so funny? So one of the top speakers in our industry, a lot of folks know, is Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher, right? So it's probably saw his videos. But it's so funny, when I first, decided, okay, I got some value to give, I want to help people, he was one of the guys I looked at, and literally, I didn't know who I was, so I just emulated him because he looked like he was successful, people following him, he has a movement. But what's so crazy is and what's so funny, so Kendall is my coach, right? So Kendall was the first person to tell me stop performing. I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? You keep telling me I'm performing. I don't understand what you're talking. He said, stop performing. He said, you're not being yourself. And I didn't know, and I just thought I had to, because I had like his mannerisms and everything. And he just kept telling me, and I thought about it one day. I'm like, wait, what is he really talking about? I'm like, I'm just gonna go out here and just do me. I don't care. And as I started getting more comfortable speaking, being in front of people, helping, coaching people, my true authentic self started coming out, right? As y'all see, like, I'm not afraid. It was a point in time where I was afraid to be silly and y'all see how I am now? I was not like this all the time, especially when I first started. I just started being more comfortable with being myself. It was so funny now when I'm doing calls on coaching people, the number one thing that I hear is like, yo, you just so real. You down to earth. I can tell that you really you care about my well-being. You care about helping. Like, I can just feel it. Yo, I've spoken to all these other people out here that say that they can help me, that say that they can coach me, all these other programs and training. I ain't really feel it, but when I spoke to you, like, I really feel it. And it's because I'm operating in my true, authentic self, and that is what's attracting people.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man, that's powerful. All right, let's go. Give it up for that. Give it up for that. Woo! Question? You got a question? Oh, sorry, Shafi. My bad. Question.
Jose, I want to piggyback on that. I'm one of those people too. One of the people that felt that way about you responding today. Eric. So I'm pretty sure everybody can relate. Pretty sure we've all found ourselves in a spot where even if it wasn't the beginning, it's easy, or you come up with more than enough reason to stop doing what you're doing. It got too hard, it's too time consuming, you're lacking in this area, maybe you're not giving enough attention to your significant other because you know doing what you're doing that's causing problems. So my question to you is, when you came across those things, what is it that you turn back to or you look to give you strength to keep going forward? Like, what was your driving force?
Yeah, so there's priorities, right? Because again, when you do something that's worth doing, there's gonna be obstacles. It's gonna be it's gonna be hard. No one knows you. Nobody thinks that you can do what you can do. Why you and not somebody else, right? Significant other, as you mentioned, saying you're not giving me enough time, right? Maybe that's not the right significant other. I don't know, possibly. But for me, I found my niche, and I knew where I was going, and I had to surround myself with people who supported that. And if you were on my team and you didn't support that, then you can't be on my team, right? Even my girl, like if you're with me, now, fellas, that don't mean shut up and I'll get home when I get home. Be considerate, right? You gotta realize, oh wait, I gotta punch out because I gotta water this relationship, right? And be smart about it, right? And then once you've done that, get back to it. She will appreciate that so much more. Ladies, I don't know how many are married, single, whatever, but I didn't want to marry the most beautiful girl in the world. I think she is, but what I wanted more than anything was a partner who could roll up her sleeves and get down with me, and we could become one, right? That gentleman, if he's smart and he's the right guy, he's gonna acknowledge that, appreciate that, and commit to that. If he's not, he'll fumble it because it's not God's plan for you to be with that guy, right? So, there was so many different obstacles for me, and this is what I wanted to do at the time. I didn't have an alternative, right? I just knew that it was just a matter of how much time it was gonna take. And I'm gonna wait this out. If it's 10 years, 20 years, whatever, this is for me, because this is what I saw myself doing, right? And so I just pursued it. And I surrounded myself with, and people in my life knew that's what I wanted to do. And so if you accept me as your significant other, then she's gonna support that, and I'm gonna support her dreams as well. And we're gonna roll together. And whatever obstacle comes our way, we're gonna hurdle it together, and we're gonna solve the problems together. And if that meant sleeping in a car together or whatever, like, it is what it is, right? And that's just how I moved. That was it.
One last part.
Love it. Go for it.
Just so I can get it from you. What was that? What's your driving force? Like when you came upon times like, I'm doing this because of this, or because your tenacity to keep going.
Because it was just for me. That's just what I saw myself doing. That was it was my career, right? If some people choose to be a medical professional, or you choose to be a performance coach or a speaker or whatever, it was just for me, right? And I was going to do it. And it was just, that's what I wanted to do. Especially because I was preparing myself to be better than everybody else. I was outworking everybody else. I was learning about it. When my other friends were like, yo, I just want to be in it, and I want to party, and I want all the glitz and glamour of it, I wanted to know how what was making the secondhand click. I wanted to know the back office of it. I wanted to be able to, this is why.
Love it. Yeah, give it up for that. Woo! Love it. So with that, what's interesting about that too is, I said this, I forgot who I was talking to, maybe Maureen, I was talking to somebody, and I was saying, well, y'all are gonna be doing y'all own events one day. So y'all need to be peeping, as y'all learning, y'all need to be peeping. Okay, let me see what Coach T doing here. Okay, cool. Okay, my man knows what's going on. He's doing this. Okay, cool. Got the camera set in the back. Like, pay attention to the, and that's what he was saying too. Like, yo, ear hustling, paying attention to also what's happening, because people are gonna tell you directly, but there's a lot of things that nobody's directly gonna tell you. You have to pick it up.
Also, you guys got so many tools now. When I was coming up and I was trying to get on, I didn't have social media to reach out to people in Middle America that I didn't have a direct, it was just my immediate circle, right? I had to literally go out every night. Like I had to get dressed and go out and meet people. Like I couldn't put up a post and it was clever and people liked it, like, oh, who's this guy? And meet them that way. I had to literally go out. So, you know,
And that was just a chance. You might see that person.
yeah, but I say that to say, you know, don't just scroll down your timeline just to see what everybody else is doing. Learn how social media works in your advantage. Learn how to build a following on social media. There's a science to that, right? You guys want to be speakers. You guys want to be, you want to create a following. Social media is the way to go. It's changed the game in and there's no company, there's no anything that is trying to do business that isn't utilizing social media. It's the way to go. Like we shop on social media, we find out, we stalk our friends, so we know everything about, learn how to use social media to your benefit. It's everything.
You know, it's interesting, and that's what we were talking about early in the first half of the day, where we was given a lot of strategies on how to increase, in your words, how to increase the IQ, right, of being online. You know what I mean? One of the things I heard Kobe say, I don't know if I heard him say, it was probably from a book that I read from him, but what makes Kobe different is the IQ. And one of the things he said was, he was like, I know how to even like hold people so the ref don't see, because there's certain blind spots on the floor. And I was like, damn, in it. I'm like, my man is smart.
Yeah. My daughter is a 17-year-old basketball player, right? She's pretty talented physically, and I try to explain to her, especially in female sports, the science is everything, right? And I try to explain, so many coaches, nobody seems to understand science. Nobody seems to understand vision. The girls in basketball, right? The standouts are the ones that can understand and see the game unfolding before it unfolds. So they're more confident, because they know what's next. They know what they want to do. They know, if you do this, I'm gonna do this. So they play at a higher clip than the girls who are just out there and don't really understand the science. That's true in every aspect of life. There's a science to just about every game. Every game, even the arts. There's a science to it. If you really understand and learn the science to what you're doing, you'll perform better, because you'll be more confident and you'll know what's coming. You'll know, or when that obstacle gets in front of you, you'll know how to hurdle it. The best way, the easiest way. But if you're just trying to play the game and you're not really understanding how the game is played, it's going to make it that much difficult for you. And then you rely on your talents. And it's better to understand the science along with your talents so that you can be better.
Here we go. Give it up. All right, we're going to take one more question. Shatia, you got one?
Yeah, I do. Even though he did, I'm so sorry. Yes, hi, everybody. He did ask a question. It was really about your obstacles. And I was glad that I was able to piggyback off this young man right here, because sometimes that's kind of like the main key. And I know you mentioned some of those. I know you mentioned that you had obstacles. I would like to ask you if you can share us maybe one of the hardest obstacles that you had went through, and how did you come out? Like, I know it's kind of similar to this question, but this is more in depth. It's like, what was it? You know?
Yeah. So for me, when I was at a stage in the beginning, it was a new obstacle every day. Trying to get meetings, trying to develop relationships when I didn't have anything to offer. That's difficult. right? Like, because again, a lot of people want, when they look at you, they're looking like, okay, what do I need from it? I don't need from whatever. And it's difficult, right? So those were the obstacles that I was met with. It was persistence that helped me get around them. It was constantly being there, being present, that social media can't help you with. Right? I was there. Like, I would literally wake up every morning and go to Def Jam. Like, that was just like, I had a relationship with the receptionist, so she would get me past the doors, and I would just roam around Def Jam. Stop at this person's office. Yo, I'm busy right now. Okay. Go to the next person's office. Yo, you come sit for 10 minutes. All right, you gotta go. Like, I was just there. So whenever my name was mentioned, oh yeah, I know him. I know him. And then when I had something to offer, now it's like Eric Nix. And then I started to brand my name. But I was there. And every day was an obstacle for me. I can tell it's so many. Money was an obstacle. Not having money to get on the train to go to the city. I think a lot of you I heard of the turnstile. Because I had to do it. Right? It was so many different obstacles. I was met every day. I can't seriously sit here and pinpoint one obstacle. Probably the biggest challenge for me, because he asked, and he got personal when you asked about challenges. I will tell you, my biggest challenge was starting my own business, right, and working for myself, and having to adopt from I get a check no matter what, to eat what you kill, right? That was
That's different.
What? And having people responsible, like there's people who work for you, who have families, and you work for your company and has committed to your company, and you got to make payroll every week. Mm-hmm. Jay said it in a rhyme. That's what separates the men from the boys. When you have to pay that office rent, and you got to make that payroll. And if you can't make that payroll, that means that these people that work for you can't feed their families, pay their tuitions, pay their mortgages, car notes, food. So, that was the biggest challenge for me, right? In terms of professional challenges. And you learn a different side of you. You become an animal. You learn to sleep less and wake up and get to it. And everything is about focus. And if it is not helping you move forward, you push it to the side. Right? Well, I'll tell you to do that before you start working for yourself. Take that mentality now and adapt that to yourself now. Like, yeah, I don't have time for that because it's not helping me. Be polite, but I gotta keep moving.
Wow, that's powerful. Yo, give it up for that. Wow. You said this last thing, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, E. What's so crazy? As you're saying, I said a story earlier. Remember, he said you should have that insane level of focus before you actually leave, right? Remember when I was saying at my job, I would spend 55 minutes working and 5 minutes eating, taking calls, right? Speaking, doing videos, doing webinars, doing trainings. That's the type of focus he's talking about. You saying, I ain't got that many hours in my day. Okay, well, let's be real. You ain't really working 8 hours a day. Let's keep it 100. You ain't really working 8 hours a day. You got breaks within the day. You got an hour, 30 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. You got a 20-minute ride home. Why we can't jump on a call? Why we can't just give somebody some free advice that potentially might be a client in the future?
Don't let the money change you when you start making it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, that's big, because you get lazy when you have money in your bank account. The things that you were willing to do when you were dead broke, and now you're not willing to do them anymore because I'm gonna eat. I'm good. Nah, because there's somebody else sitting at the table eating a box of Fruit Loops. I'm gonna take her spot. And they come in, they willing to do what you're not willing to do. It's real.
Woo.
Stay hungry.
All right, let's give it up for Eric. Woo! Hey, I appreciate you, my brother. Yo, thank you for coming through, man. All right, appreciate you, man. All right.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, give it up one more time for Eric.